Hello, my name is Mike Ward. I'm the Head of Content at Informa Pharma Intelligence. We're here at BioEurope Spring in Vienna, where pharmaceutical companies, biotechs and investors all get together to discuss some of the issues that are important to the industry, and also look for opportunities for both partnering and investment. One of the sort of the hottest areas where we've seen a lot of investment and partnering is in the cancer, in the oncology space. But more often than not, it's in the sort of the sexy immuno-oncology area. And yet there are still some great opportunities in what might be considered conventional chemotherapy. I'm joined by Colin Freund, who's the CEO of a Dutch company called Modra Pharmaceuticals. And Colin, your company, I mean, that's exactly what you're looking at. You're looking at sort of, I guess, improving the sort of the opportunities associated with taxanes.
Yeah, that's right.
Classic chemotherapy therapies.
Yes.
So what was the problem with the sort of the taxanes that you are addressing?
Well, you hear some upon the point quite precisely. There are hundreds of thousands of patients who still use chemotherapies. They're very effective, but they're problematic and limited in many ways. And two of the biggest ways in which they're limited, one is they tend to have high levels of toxicities, which can limit the duration of their treatment as well as inhibit their quality of life. And they have to go into hospital to go and get infusions once a week or once every 3 weeks, which is an inconvenient and unpleasant experience as well. And so there are many ways that one can improve chemotherapy from where it is today.
Right. And that improvement, I mean, what were the particular properties that you thought you could tweak or alter in a significant way that would actually get you to where you wanted to go?
So Modra had really three goals in terms of improving taxane chemotherapy. The first one was to address the toxicity issue and really find a way to vastly reduce the levels of toxicity, particularly of what are called dose limiting toxicities, which limit the amount of treatment you can get. The second piece was to try and improve the efficacy and activity of the treatment, both by lengthening the period of time that patients could take treatment because it was better tolerated, but also through some mechanistic aspects to try and improve the potency and the efficacy of the treatment. And the third piece was to formulate this novel form of therapy in an oral tablet, which could be taken at home, so that patients did not have to go to hospital as often, could really try and put the cancer in the background of their lives rather than being something that they're faced with every day.
Right. So was it a sort of a chemical formulation issue, or was it a drug formulation issue that you were looking to address?
It's kind of both. So our lead drug is called Modra 006R. And it has two components. The first component is a novel oral formulation of docetaxel, which is one of the most widely used taxanes. And we look to make it convenient, we look to make it safer so it doesn't have any toxic excipients in it, and we look to make it something that you could take once a week. On top of that, to boost the exposure of the drug, which really is what drives the activity of the drug, we use a booster in combination with that. And so we use a drug which is already on the market called ritonavir, which was traditionally used in HIV, and then has been used as a booster for antiviral drugs, for the first time using it as a booster in the oncology space. Okay,
so the technology itself, I mean, where was it developed?
So the technology was developed out of a cancer institute in Amsterdam called the National Cancer Institute, and the company was founded back in 2010. And so a lot of the initial work was looking at the formulation, how to really optimize that, and to find the right booster to really boost the effect and the exposure to the drug in patients.
Right, okay. And so you sort of said, right, the company was created in 2010, so we're now sort of the start of 2019. In that 9 years, what sort of, I guess, proof of principle or concept have you actually identified or achieved?
So the company has two clinical programs. ModraDoc, the one I talked about a few minutes ago, is our lead, which is the oral docetaxel-based program. That is currently in phase 2 clinical studies. So we have a phase 2A study we just started in breast cancer. We're planning to do a phase 2B study in prostate cancer. And behind that, we have several phase 1 or phase 1/2 studies which show that we achieve the right levels of exposure to docetaxel and also achieve these significant improvements in safety that we've been targeting.
Right, and because these are sort of, established sort of molecules, you sort of say it's an oral version. what does that mean for getting it through the regulatory process? What is different?
So in this context, because the drug itself is based off 2 approved elements, i.e. docetaxel and ritonavir, we can go through a somewhat more accelerated approval path known as 505(b)(2) in the US. We will still need to do pivotal studies, but we can use some of the data from the existing packages of the existing drugs in the context of our development and regulatory process.
Right. So, funding to date, I mean, how have you actually financed all the work that you've done so far, and how much runway have you got left?
So where we are right now is we started off with a Series A, which we're still using around €6.5 million in total, to fund the full phase 2 program in breast and in prostate cancer, as well as to do some manufacturing upscaling. We're looking to raise another 25 million in a Series B, and that's a major focus of what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis at this point. Right,
okay, so that's the reason why you'll be at a meeting like this in the first place. And when you're sort of out there sort of talking to investors, what are the sort of stickier questions that you're having to answer?
I think, people just want to see where we are in terms of data and what we've actually generated at this point, and to understand what the value proposition is moving forward, going into later stage clinical trials and then hopefully into the market. And once you can sit down and really talk about the potentially huge impact in many, many patients that you could have with this oral taxane, then the value proposition becomes very clear.
Right, so is there sort of a differentiator? Because a lot of the immuno-oncology products that are getting a lot of attention are also very, very expensive. Is there sort of I guess the value proposition that this would be a less expensive approach to treating cancers?
So given the impact that we expect to see, we will still see this as a premium priced product, but clearly not at the levels of some of the latest very high pricing levels for checkpoint inhibitors, for example. And so it would be a premium priced product. However, it would be something we would also be looking to use in a very large population of people, given docetaxel is used in a very large population today.
Right, and your sort of business development sort of expectations in terms of your commercialization, because obviously taxanes are large volume molecules.
So we're a relatively small company.
That's what I was about.
Absolutely. And I think from my perspective, we will certainly want to engage with partners after we've completed the next cycle of development for potentially further development and certainly for commercialization.
Right, and have you started sort of having those conversations?
Visibility only at this point. The main focus is on raising the Series B to complete the phase 2 program, and then partnering will come along after that.
Right, okay. I don't recall if we've actually addressed this, but sort of the timelines of sort of you're completing, those sort of phase 2B trials?
So we're looking at completing the overall phase 2 program. Will be in the area of end of 2020, sometime in early 2021 is what we're targeting.
Right, okay, and the finance that you're now looking to raise, that will get you to that point?
That is what we're aiming for, yes.
Okay, well great, well thanks very much for stopping by and explaining that to us.
It's been a pleasure, thank you.